students, I hope you're doing well. Today we will continue with chapter 3 in Global Leadership Management course. The topics that we are going to explain is attitudes, job satisfaction, self-concept, values, and ethics. So the learning outcomes for this chapter, the first one is defining attitudes and explain how they affect behavior, human relations, and performance. Then describe how to change your attitudes and list 7 job satisfaction determinants. Also determining how whether you have a positive self-concept and how it affects your behavior, human relations, and performance. And understand how your managers and your own expectations affects your performance. So after that, we will continue with demonstrating how to develop more positive self-concept, then identify your personal values, then compare the 3 levels of moral development, and briefly describe 4 guides to ethical decision making. And at last, we will define the 12 key terms throughout the chapter, identified in bold with their definition. They are listed at the end of the chapter. So let's begin. As an introduction for this chapter explores how internal factors such as attitude, self-concept, values, and ethics influence leadership behavior and performance. Leaders must not only understand themselves, but also how these elements shape interactions, decision-making, and team innovation. So this means that it's very important to leaders first to know themselves, to know how to interact with others, to learn how to make correct decisions, and also how to motivate themselves and keep themselves motivated. After that, it's very important for them to teach others how to make decisions, how to interact, and also motivate their teams. So throughout learning the attitudes, self-concepts, values, and ethics, we will understand how leaderships and leadership behaviors are happening in the organization, and how leaders perform in these organizations, and how they shape their interactions, decision making, and team motivation. So here, we will study the developing of interpersonal skills because they are very important in affecting behavior, relationships, and performance. So interpersonal skills are one of those skills that are very crucial for leaders to develop themselves in. So in this chapter, we will focus on attitude, then job satisfaction, then self-concept, then values and ethics. So let's begin with attitude. As a definition, we can define attitude as a strong belief or feeling toward people, things, and situations. So meaning how you believe or feel toward other people, toward things around you, and toward situations that are happening around you. So attitudes can be described as evaluations that people make about the objects around them, about the people around them, or events that are occurring around them. So they reflect how we feel about something. So this is attitude. So attitudes can be positive or negative, or they are shown by our behaviors, and also we acquire them through life experiences. So as much as you go through more experiences and new experiences, your attitude might change. Sometimes they might go in a positive direction, sometimes they might go in a negative direction. So and it will be reflected and shown in our behaviors. So it's important to develop our own attitudes and not to make quick judgments about things around us and people around us. And also attitude is not something that can be changed easily. They can be changed, but it cannot be changed very easily and very quickly. You need to experience things, you need to practice it in order to change a certain attitude in yourself. So our attitude is very important on the job or on the profession level, and in our personal relationships as well. So attitudes combined of three components, which are cognitive, which is on the level of beliefs and opinions, our thoughts. Then it's affective, which is emotional reactions, how we feel. Then it's behavioral, which is the intention to act, and it will be reflected in our behaviors. So how attitudes how affects others. So if we define it throughout behaviors perspective, it influences how we approach tasks on people. So it's our behavior toward our tasks, toward things that we have to do or perform, and towards people, how we react with them, how we deal with them, how we talk to them. So this is one of the things that attitudes affect. It affects behavior. Also, it affects human relations. So positive attitudes foster collaboration and trust, meaning that if your attitudes are positive, your relationships with humans, with peoples around you, will foster collaboration, will foster trust, and vice versa. If you are negatively behaving, or your attitudes are negative with others, it will reduce the collaboration among you and others. It will affect your human relations in a negative way and decrease trust among you and others. Also, attitudes affect performance. So motivation and commitment are shaped by attitude, because motivation and commitment are part of the performance, and they are very important for shaping our performance. So once your attitude is shaped by a good motivation, a good commitment, your performance will enhance and will be much better, and vice versa. So here, this is an self-assessment exercise for the students. You can do it yourself and assess yourself. Also, there are these questions, theory X and Y, based on the assessment that you have done. You can find out, depending on your scores, if you are among theory X or Y, or you are balanced. So let's move to changing to attitudes. So how to change attitudes? Changing attitudes can happen from or through self-awareness, from cognitive reframing, feedback, and experience. So self-awareness, if you are more and more aware about yourself, you will recognize negative thoughts, and you will try to eliminate them and turning them into positive thoughts. Also, cognitive reframing, replacing limited beliefs, feedback, replacing limited beliefs. So it's about how you are believing in things. Also, feedback is about accepting others' feedback and adding constructive inputs into yourself so that you improve yourself. Also, we have experience, which is the exposure that can shift perspective. So as much as you're experiencing things more and more, you are more exposed to situations, to people, to things around you, and of course it will affect your perspectives, and it will transfer them from a form to another, from a stage to another. This is another self-assessment. I will leave it for you, so you can assess yourself and get the scores in order to know your attitudes and how you can change your attitudes. This is again a chart that is related to the assessment, so you will understand how you are able to change your attitudes and how much you are flexible in changing your attitudes. Now we will move to another subtopic, which is ways to improve attitudes, how to improve your attitudes. So first you need to remember a positive attitude is a major key to success. As much as you are dealing positively with others, with situations around you, it will step you closer to the success. So first of all, you need to be aware about your attitudes. You need to understand yourself. You need to know how your attitudes shapes you, what are they, how you are behaving with others. After that, you will move to step 2, which is realizing negativity in your attitudes and harmful attitudes. Once you know what are your negative attitudes, what are your attitudes that are harmful to your surroundings, you will keep yourself and open-minded. So it's very important. In step 1 and 2 will take you to step 3, which is open-minded. If you are an open-minded person, you will understand your attitudes and you will realize the negativities and harmfulness in yourself, and also will be willing to move them to positives and useful attitudes. So you can control your attitudes and direct your life by yourself. It's very easy. It just needs practice and commitment. You need to read more, you need to learn more, and be more relaxed. Also, there is another quote says, we are what we think we are. So if you believe you are something, you will be that something. Also difficult to change your own. Sometimes you face difficulty to change your own attitudes, but there is nothing that is impossible. So impossible is nothing. So you can change your own attitudes. And sometimes it's much easier to change yourself, not to try to change others, because all the change comes from inside to outside. So changing yourself might be much easier than changing others. So try to make change in yourself first, then expect others or help others to change themselves afterwards. So we have some tips to improve others. If you are willing to help your friend, your family member, your colleague to improve themselves, there are some tips. These tips can be useful for yourself as well. So the first one says give feedback. Giving feedback meaning letting people know when they are being negative, but also it's very important to always remember that you need to be respectful, you need to give feedback politely, and they should be constructive feedback. So feedback, giving them and also asking for feedback about yourself is important. So let people know when they are being negative and try to explain the situation for them in order they understand their negativity by convincing them. Another tip is accentuate the positive. So make sure people have what they need. It's important to keep positivity everywhere among your surroundings, in your discussions, and when you give feedback. So positivity is very important. Another tip is providing consequences. So reward positive behavior. So you as a leader, it's important to reward your team member when they are behaving positively. So be positive, a positive role model. You as a leader, as a team member, as a colleague, as a family member, as a friend, it's very important to be a positive role model. It is by itself a motivation to others. So practice this positivity in your life, in your work, in your society. Now we will move to another topic, which is job satisfaction. So another topic in this chapter is job satisfaction. So if we define job satisfaction in a very easy way, we can say it's the level of contentment employees feel about their work, which affects performance and turnover. So it's a set of attitudes toward work. So satisfaction is a combination of a set of attitudes that employees are holding toward their jobs, toward their tasks, toward their occupation. So as much as the employees are feeling better or feeling positively about their work, about their job, it affects their performance in a positive way and reduces turnover and improve retention. So job satisfaction is very important in organizations. Leaders and management needs to consider job satisfaction as a very serious matter among their staff in order to achieve goals of their organization through the performance of their satisfied staff. So job satisfaction survey, if we make a survey among the employees in a particular organization, we can say it's the process of determining employee about the job and work environment. So it's satisfaction reflects how employee see their job, how employee sees and understand the work environment that they are working at. So employees who are more satisfied with their jobs are generally better workers. So job satisfaction impacts three things. It impacts employee retention, meaning that how much or how long employees are staying in that organization. Also, it impacts organizational citizenship behavior, so it impacts the behavior of the staff in that organization. And it impacts the productivity and innovation among the staff and managers as well. If we look at this graph here, we can see an employee in the middle, which is a satisfaction level of this particular employee. So how things are determining this job satisfaction? The work itself, what he or she does, it affects the job satisfaction, so it's one of the determinants. Then growth and upward mobility, how much this employee thinks they are growing. It affects their satisfaction. Also the co-workers, the people that you are working with, your team members, also affects your level of satisfaction. Then your attitude toward work, so how much your attitudes are positive toward your work or they are negative, how you think and feel about your job. It determines the level, or let's say it affects the level of satisfaction. Supervision is another determinant and very important factor that affects the satisfaction, because your supervisor, team or team leader or manager has a very strong influence on you, on your daily tasks. Also job security, how much secure you feel about your job, how much secure you feel that, for example, you are not getting terminated. It makes you more satisfied about your job. Also payment and benefits, compensations and benefits are another key factor or a determinant of the job satisfaction. So determinants of job satisfaction, as we discussed, we have the work itself, which is a major factor, affects overall job satisfaction. So for example, if you want to make a survey among the employees of a particular organization to understand or to explore how much they are satisfied about their job, you have these determinants. You can use them as the variables of your research, which is the work itself, pay and benefits, growth and upward mobility, supervision, co-workers, job security, attitude toward work. They are all variables that affects the level of job satisfaction. So under each of them you can ask a question. For example, when it's related to work itself, you can ask, do you enjoy performing the work itself? In pay and benefit, you can ask, rising costs of healthcare make benefit more important than ever. Are you happy with your payment? Are you satisfied with the benefits among your organization? Then growth and upward mobility, you can say, is there a future? Does it provide challenging for growth? Regarding supervision, how much happy you are with your supervisor. Regarding coworkers, do you like the people you work with? Then job security, do you think you are secured at your current job? And also attitude toward work, is it something you love to do or not? So these are all questions and determinants of job satisfaction. Continuing of job satisfaction, we have some surveys that was done in the United States and some other countries. It says that job satisfaction can be improved through effective human resource practices. So an effective HR department can improve job satisfaction among employees. Also, internationally, it found that education and income do increase job satisfaction. So the change in income, the level of education can increase job satisfaction. Also, it has been found that the highest rates of satisfaction found in professional and management position and those in non-manual jobs with long-term contracts. So the most individual that are with higher rates of satisfaction are professional and management positions and non-manual jobs with long-term contracts. Also, the lower rates of satisfaction were found at the manual labor jobs, those who are performing manual tasks. Also, it found that the levels of satisfaction varies across cultures. For example, in India, the happiest workforce with 89% satisfied employees, so they are satisfied, while in Japan has the unhappiest workforce with 21% of employees claiming to be very dissatisfied. So here we have another survey. It says top 10 countries by job satisfaction. India scored 89%, which is on the top of the list. Mexico 85%, Turkey 80%, Norway 79%, US 78%, Denmark is 78%, Spain 77%, Argentina 75%, Brazil 74%, and China again 74%. In Malaysia, the job satisfaction, 32% say the country lacks people with the skill to do their kind of work, while 32% says will likely ask for a raise in the next 12 months. Then 48% of the employees says that their job requires specialist training, and 28% of the employees says that will likely ask for promotion in the next 12 months. So in Malaysia, 59% of employees are satisfied with their job. 17% are extremely or very likely to switch to a new employer in the next 12 months. While 69% of the employees says that pay is extremely or very important when they consider making a change in their work environment. And 66% of those employees says that job fulfillment is extremely very important when they consider making a change in their work environment. So these are all key indicators. They are tools, they are variables to learn more about job satisfaction and to measure job satisfaction among employees. So there is a question. We will discuss this in our online session. So what are you looking for? So make a list of top 7 items you're looking for in a job that bring you the most satisfaction. Also be prepared to discuss these in our online class, which are these 7 points, so we will leave this for the online session. Now we move to another concept which is self-concept. If we define self-concept, we can say it is the perception we have of ourselves in terms of abilities, appearance, and values. So it's about how you see yourself, how you understand yourself, how you expect yourself regarding your abilities, your appearance, and values. So self-concept, it's combined of 3 components, which are self-esteem, how much you like yourself and trust yourself, self-image, how you see yourself, and ideal self, how you want to be. So self-concept, it has a positive benefit. So positive self-concept benefits is a stronger leadership presence. As much as you are positively seeing yourself, you have stronger leadership presence and better stress handling. Also, it will improve your performance and communication with others. So how to develop a positive self-concept in order to be a stronger leader, in order to handle stress better, in order to improve your performance and communication skills? You can develop it through practice self-reflection. So always try to understand yourself, how you reflect. Try to see yourself, how you're reflecting, and practice this in order to learn your gaps, in order to learn your negative points and improve them or change them toward positive reflections. Then you have set goals and achieve those goals, work to achieve those goals in order to develop your self-concept. So the goals might be, I want to improve my leadership skills, I want to handle stress better. So it depends on your personality. And another method or way to develop your self-concepts and make it a positive matter in your self, which is surround yourself with support, with people that supports you, with the environment that supports you, and also accept feedback constructively. So once someone gives you a feedback, try to use that feedback constructively in order to improve yourselves and accept it with positive way. Here we have a class discussion. I will leave this slide for our online session. I would like you to read it before the session starts and discuss it. So how do you like yourself? Do you think you are a valued person? Do you believe you can meet the challenge? So we will leave this for class discussion. Continuing with self-concept, we have some terms. We will discuss them one by one. First one, self-efficacy or self-efficacy. You believe in your capability to perform in a specific situation. So self-efficacy is how you believe yourself or how much you believe you are able to perform a certain task or perform or handle a specific situation. Then we have self-fulfilling prophecy. Self-fulfilling prophecy means when your expectations affect your success or failure. Sometimes you are being assigned to perform a certain task. Maybe you have good expectations and you think that you can manage that and perform that task properly, so it will affect your success there. Or maybe sometimes you are assigned to manage a project. Maybe you have negative expectations about yourself. You might feel like you cannot control the management of this certain project, so it will affect your success and failure as well. Then we have attribution. Attribution means one's perception of the reasons for behavior. So how you are aware about the reasons for your behavior, how much you are conscious about your behaviors and the reasons behind your behaviors. This is called attribution. So we do not really know the cause of someone's behavior, but we can know the cause of our behaviors. So behavior is a result of some background about that person's emotional stability, lifestyle, family, environment, work. So behavior is a result of things that accumulated throughout your life. So building a positive self-concept requires some steps. We start from learning from our mistakes. Then we can tell ourselves, everyone that in life experiences anything, they make mistakes. So mistake is normal, but it's important to admit your mistakes and be future oriented. So once you make a mistake and understand that it's normal to make a mistake, then you admit it, then try to make it a positive feedback to improve yourself for future. In such case, you can say, I'm a future oriented person. After that, accept bonus back from failures. So accept and bounce back from failures, meaning that you accept your failure, you accept your mistakes and learn from them. So don't dwell on the negative and move on. Don't stay on the negative parts. Don't say that you made a mistake, you failed, you cannot do it. No, pass that and move on. So tap into your spirituality, be positive, think positive, and understand that every mistake, every failure is a step to make you stronger and move forward. So we have a three-part action plan in order to build a positive self-concept. Step one is identify your strengths and areas that need improvement. After that, based on step one, you can move to step two, which is set short and long-term goals and visualize them. So if you know your strengths and if you know your weaknesses, you can set goals for yourself in order to make yourself a better person and visualize those goals. So after step two, we move to step three, which is develop a habit plan and implement it. So for example, if you're saying I am very weak at this certain point, then what is your goal? Your goal is to strengthen yourself in that point. So develop a plan, make it a habit and implement it. Then by time you will be a strong person, or you will move or change your weaknesses into strength. Now we move to values. Values are the things that have worth for or are more important on an individual. Values mean those things that are important for some people and group of people, or maybe to a community, to a society, and it has worth for them. So it is deeply held beliefs about what is important or desirable. So values becomes belief and tells you what is important and what is desirable. So value system is a set of standards by which an individual lives. Value system, it will become a set of standards for individuals that they usually learn throughout life experiences, throughout what society tells them, what society believes. So values are more stable than attitudes because attitudes change easier than values. Values is a stronger understanding, it's a stronger belief, it is a stronger level of attitude. An attitude can change easier and deeply held values, so values tend to be more widely held and culturally believed. Then we have type of values. Well, there are two types of values, which are instrumental and terminal. Instrumental means preferred behavior such as honesty and hard work, while terminal desired end states such as success and happiness. So instrumental values are results of behaviors such as honesty, hard work. Maybe honesty has very strong, it's a very strong value for someone, but it's not for another person. And terminal values are desired end states, meaning success, happiness, which are seen as the end result of some action. So it gives a value to that particular individual. So these values, these types of values, they matter because they drive motivation and choices for individuals. Also, they align with organizational culture, and also it guides your ethical behavior. So your values, of course, they will guide your ethical behavior. They, for example, we talked about honesty. Honesty, of course, it will guide your ethical behavior and shapes how ethical you are. And also, as much as you have values, it drives you to motivate to work to those values. It affects your choices, and by default, it will define organizational culture, and it will be affected and affects organizational culture. So it's important for leaders to clarify personal and team values and tell the team what are the value of their team, what are the values of the organization, and communicate those values clearly and consistently with their team members, and to be role model value-based individuals or team leaders, and their actions should be a role model and value-based. Here we have a personal values self-assessment exercise. I will leave these for you because it's for students. You can fill out this exercise, and the scores will tell you your areas that are very valuable to you and the places that you are with a higher value. Again, this is another assessment for your ethics and values. Now we move to another topic, which is ethics. So ethics is the moral standard of right and wrong behavior. So ethics, it is those standards that tell you this behavior is right and that behavior is wrong. So it became like a principle that define right and wrong and define code of conducts. So ethics is a combination of moral and principles. They became like a standard which is differentiating right from wrong, and it will be reflected in our behaviors. So this slide is for the class discussion. I will leave it for the online session. So read it carefully and we will discuss it in the online session class. Now we have moral development. Moral development refers to our thinking, feeling, and behaving ethically or not. So morals means how ethical you are in your thinking, in your feeling, and in your behaviors and actions. So we have three levels of moral development. The first one is pre-conventional. The second one is conventional, and the third one is post-conventional. So let's discuss them each one. So three levels of moral development, which was developed by Kohlberg. The first one is pre-conventional, meaning obedience and self-interest. So the pre-conventional moral level is about how much obedience that employee or that individual is and the self-interest. The second level is conventional, which is comfort and law. And the third one is post-conventional, which is universal ethical principles. This is the levels for three levels of moral, which is an exhibit. I will leave it for the students to read it and understand it by themselves, and we will discuss it in the class. Here we talk about each one of them. So we start with post-conventional, which is social contraction or contract orientation. It is universal ethical principles that is universally how things are ethical and what are the ethical principles globally. It follows the ethical principles despite what culture or law condones. So sometimes at risk of social rejection, maybe because of the economic laws or physical punishment, and its principles consents. Moving to conventional is doing what the majority does. So it's following the majority and following norms of your culture. So the good boy or good girl attitude. The culture says this person is good, that person is not. So it's adhering to authority and maintaining social order, and peer pressure is used to enforce group of norms. So it's about what social communities believe, how they pressure individuals about how to behave, how their attitudes should be, which is shaped in that social cultures and group norms. While moving to pre-conventional level, which is related to reward and punishment oriented, and it's usually self-oriented. So it is getting what one needs by following the rules. If you are following these rules, you will be rewarded. If you are not following the rules, you will be punished. So how much you're being obedient to the authority to avoid punishment, either in your organization or in your country by the government and law, and what is it in for me, or fear-based behaviors. So the individuals ask themselves, if I obey the rules, what is it in for me, what I will benefit, or if I didn't do, what can happen to me. So sometimes you are following the rules because you fear the punishments, or sometimes you're following the rules because you're seeking reward. Completing with ethics. So ethics is increased unethical conduct. We can say increased ethical conduct occurs in situations that are highly competitive and unsupervised. So if we are in a situation that is unsupervised and very highly competitive, individuals or teams or organizations might conduct this competitiveness or get into the competition unethically. And maybe sometimes because of lack a clear code of conduct, maybe the code of conduct are not clear, so maybe unethical situations or behaviors occur. And sometimes because of lack of punishment or violations, maybe there are no punishments, so individuals or organizations tend to do things and perform tasks in an ethical way, and also get reward for violations. Maybe sometimes you see people or group of people, they are violating rules, they are performing violations. So sometimes you see they are not punished, but they get rewarded. They might gain something, they might uh, had some financial reward. So it will increase the unethical behaviors. Another point, if the violation is perceived as minor, sometimes the violation is toward a minority of groups, then they will be neglected by the superiors or people in law. That will also increase unethical conduct. And if a friend is the offender, meaning that as someone is close to you, they are the one who are behaving ethically, but there might not be much reaction from others toward them. They might not be advices to those friends, so it will make them increase their unethical behaviors. So ethics, if we talk about decision making, guys, ethically, we have 4 ethical decision making, guys, which are golden rule, 4-way test, stakeholder approach, and code of ethics. Golden rule means to treat others as you want to be treated. 4-way test is how much you're truthful, fair, goodwill, and mutual benefit for all. And stakeholder approach is consider all affected parties. So once you are making a decision, consider everyone that will be affected by those decisions. And we have code of ethics, which is following professional or organizational standard. if we follow these four ethical decision-making guides, we will be very ethical individuals, very ethical in organizations, and we will perform ethically for ourselves and toward others. So here we have another guide, which is Human Relations Guide to Ethical Decisions, which is the golden rule again, the stakeholder approach again to achieve a win-win situation for everyone. The four-way test to ask yourself, is this a truth? Is it fair for everyone? Does it build a good relationship for all? Will it benefit all that are involved or not? So if you ask these questions and you get satisfying answers, you can say this is a ethical decision. Also, discriminant advice. So here you refer to the guidelines and advice from those with high standards. And application of ethical guides is to use ethical guides to keep yourself honest and motivate others to be more honest. So, encouraging honesty. So if you go to the global ethics, globalization presents challenge to multinational corporation. So if we, based on what we know and based on what we see every day, things are going more global. And there are corporations who works in different countries. They are multinational corporations. So it's very important for them to work ethically and be aware about the global ethics. So different countries have different levels and standards of ethical behaviors. So it's important to be aware of the different cultures, different levels and standards of different countries. So here we have relativism, which means decisions made based on the standard of that country. It's important with keeping the global ethics in mind. Then some countries, for example, we have some countries think bribes are okay and are common in practice, but some others are not. While we have universalism, it's a manager should make the same ethical decision across country. So when we talk about global ethics, we have relativism, which the decisions must be based on the standard of that particular country, while universalism is the standards that is the decisions that is standardized for all countries.